Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farooq Bitafi. Let us once again talk about politics of Pakistan. There is ever such a thing as wanting something too badly. We know Maulana Fazlur Rahman has been struggling for quite some time to become the country's prime minister. You'll remember WikiLeaks revelation where Maulana Fazlur Rahman actually approached the American ambassador and asked him that he wanted to be the prime minister, as if the American ambassador can grant him that wish. But that was merely reminded today when Maulana Fazlur Rahman actually addressed his own minions, his own supporters, and took a guard of honor from his supporters slash students that perhaps are going to march on Islamabad. This is an interesting situation because on one side we see the statements coming from the government, and it seems that the government is concerned about this plan of Maulana Fazlur Rahman. On the other side, we also see hardly anything is happening around us. We are sitting in Islamabad and Fazlur Rahman Saab is going to come here. So what exactly is it? Is it that the government is answering the statements with statements, but it is really not that worried because what we have seen today and yesterday in the pictures, in the videos, that would tell you that perhaps it is time to take Maulana Fazlur Rahman quite seriously. We are going to talk about his plan, whether the opposition is going to stand with him or not. It seems that People's Party has also already declared itself retired hurt. It is not going to march with Maulana in any case. But when it comes to PMLN, the largest party in Pakistan's federal, National Assembly, there you are astonished that this party seems to have developed a schizophrenia. On one side, we see Shehbaz Sharif, who seems to be averting any kind of confrontation. On the other side, we keep on hearing that letters are being issued from within the jail where Mian Nawaz Sharif, the former Prime Minister, and his daughter are incarcerated. We are going to talk about these matters and more. And one question that is very close to my heart, there have been many sit-ins in Islamabad and they usually disrupt life. The question is, why is it that the administrations, the local government, the provincial governments, or the federal governments, why haven't they been able to come up with a plan to forestall such an incursion? In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined by a very eminent panel. Dr. Niaz Mirza is with us, a noted political economist, also columnist. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Arif Chaudhry Saab, a regular in almost all the television shows, but also a lawyer of renown. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Javed Jadoon Saab, senior journalist. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program as well. Dr. Niaz Mirza, once again, do you think that Maulana Fazlur Rahman will take his minions and march on Islamabad?
Well, with each passing day and with, videos coming out of the extensive preparations, the kind of preparations that are taking place, it looks, more and more likely. I mean, you basically have to look at his motivations. His motivations clearly are to stay relevant and increase his relevance in politics. But then I also think he has a second goal, which is to harm Imran Khan. He seems to have a personal grudge. Okay. So now if there is, the government has taken the right step to, try to have negotiations with him, right. Although I don't think they've, come up with a strong team for that. They've just appointed the religious minister. People like, Parvez Khatta, Kasat Qaisar would have been more extensive. But, what can the government offer?
But is it not symbolically rich that they have appointed a religious minister?
Yeah, religious minister. But
reducing Maulana to merely
but
religious.
His issues are not religious. He is not angry because there's been some religious issue that's bothered him or something related to madrasa. His issues are political. So of the two goals, the government, you can conceivably think, could offer him something which increases his political relevance.
Right.
But how can the government do something which will harm Imran Khan?
Do we have any idea why he's taking his people to Islamabad?
Well, obviously, he
I mean,
stated that very clearly,
what
to
is
bring
that?
down the government, lock down
No, of
Islamabad
course,
and bring
but
down
what
the
are the motives?
The motives, well, they
Stated
are,
motives.
just like a laundry list. First of all, the election-related issues,
Okay.
then, the performance-related issues, and it must be said clearly, neither of that is a good justification.
And why did he mention Namuse Risalat
No,
at the very
I
start?
think that's more to, just energize his, rank and
base.
files, his own base.
Right.
There's no issue as such related to Namuse Risalat,
Right.
which might have, the government have done something. So that's clearly just to, rally the people and bring them to the road and so on.
Right, and in that you can say whatever you want to. Even if things are not there, they can see
They
or
can be
claim it.
created, yeah.
Arif Chaudhry Sahab, again, how many times have we sat here and we discussed another dharna marching on Islamabad, right? And it seems that nothing is able to stop people from actually taking Islamabad as a hostage. Now, the question is, do we have any legal mechanism to stop these things, or are there other means? And the second question that I have to ask you, sir, is Maulana today was standing next to his students. They are students, they are not political activists. Is it appropriate to use your own students of your own seminaries for a political purpose?
Patafi Saab, I remember a professor of mine who was teaching us philosophy. One, day when he was taking his class, all of a sudden something happened, and he gave us a lecture, and one part of that was, still I remember that he said, if it comes to a Maulana or Maulvi, never get involved in any logical discussion with him.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the lesson I say. If you just want to, survive as a,
But I get that. But what Dr. Sir was saying, from that one would see a very rational, a very shrewd man calculating power or his own interest, right?
Shrewd man calculating, but is being followed by those who have nothing to do with logic or reasoning. If you see, his cronies coming on TV, and I was once, a few days back, sitting on a TV channel, and they was asking, "Sir, what are your motives?" He said, "I don't know. Whatever is being said by Maulana Fazlur Rahman,
Is correct.
those are our motives." And by the time we go there, motives will set by itself. As a matter of fact, it's venom, pure and simple, beside other things. And that venom was projected and injected every day. Because, as far as Maulana is concerned...
You're talking about brainwashing the people.
No,
right?
it's not other way around. I'm telling you something different. Maulana lost election for the first time when he had... for himself, when he was not in the power corridors,
Right.
Although he has got his representation. And thereafter, the government, they always fueled it up, always put, oil and, match together, saying, diesel, Maulana Halwa, Maulana blah, blah, blah. I think when you are at a driving seat, you are in a position of giving in. You have to give in because you are not at receiving end. You are at giving end. So one who is at giving end, he has to give in. But here the situation was different. We found those people telling them that, okay, come on. It is like, the wrestler is asking others, please come.
Daring
I
them
will
to come.
provide you the gota, I will provide you all the tools, whatever you need, but come and fight with me. So Maulana, with all his vengeance, whatever he had at his command and in his mind, and then he has a following. He was planning, and from the day one, he said these are no elections. And when the question was asked, what about if you don't win the election? He said, doesn't matter. If I don't win the election, then there would be another election. So the elections until he wins it.
Right.
So the strategy, as far as your question is concerned, how can we stop it? Law is very clear. Law does not permit any sit-in.
Okay.
But everything goes beyond law. That's why, when we were sitting and you asked me, what is the legal remedy? I said, lawlessness.
Okay.
If you have to control it, because nobody has a right to obstruct your passage, to obstruct public places. How can you allow people come and sit, have a sit-in over here, where every minute, you have got, ambassadors moving around,
Right.
you have got foreign dignitaries.
Especially when they disrupt life.
Disrupt life. And that is also your constitutional right, that your life should not be obstructed.
Right.
And it is the duty, ordained duty again of the government, that they have to protect your legal right, fundamental right of movement. Your movement is restricted.
That is true.
You cannot, move around. You cannot go anywhere. No businesses.
Last time there was a lockdown or an attempt to offer lockdown.
Yeah.
It took me 8 hours to reach my own home.
Yeah.
Right? I was out of office, but I couldn't go inside my home. We were
No,
locked
it
out.
may take more. Because
It might. Actually, this is what concerns me. Javed Jadoon Saab, first, I have to ask you to war game the entire thing. But before that, I have to actually remind you of something as well. If you remember Faizabad Dharna, there was a time when one honorable judge, he is no more a judge, but he ordered the police to, disperse them per force without using actual weapons or anything, right? And what happened was that immediately after that, perhaps it was underestimated. We heard that people have come out throughout the country and the television channels had to be taken down. Now the question right now is, when such forces, which are actually very religious and committed, decide to march on a city, do you think that the governments usually take them seriously? Right now, if Maulana Fazlur Rahman comes, do you think that the government is preparing itself to tackle him, or they might be surprised?
It doesn't seem to be the case.
Okay.
First of all, I think it should be and ought to be a political decision, and everything should not be left, as you mentioned, a particular instance, to the courts or other institutions. I think the political government needs to take political decisions. I haven't seen any categoric statement or position coming out from the government how they are going to deal with the situation when Maulana comes, if he comes, which seems likely that he is going to come. Different statements coming, most of them non-serious statements from ministers and other political leaders. I think it requires a much more thoughtful process. And I think instead of, I think we are more interested in Middle Eastern politics rather than country's own political situation.
Why can't we be both?
I think at this particular juncture, Pakistan needs the attention. The people of Pakistan need the Prime Minister more than anything else.
But if you have 16 GBs of RAM, you can certainly dedicate two to something else
If
and
I accept,
keep the 14 to
if
yourself.
I accept your argument, then I think, of course, I agree with you, you can do the multitasking, but I think in this particular instance, multitasking is not being done. As you mentioned yourself, there seems to be no approach or no political strategy on part of the government. When he lands in, I think they're expecting he might not come to Islamabad.
Right.
I believe the government has this strategy, and they believe that ultimately something will happen, and
Right.
Maulana might not turn up.
Javed
and
Jadoon Sahab, here's the concern, and that is what I have to ask you. I understand where there is an uncertainty about whether Maulana is going to, lead his marches to Islamabad or not. But the question is, if something keeps on happening to a city where people come and just, besiege it, shouldn't we have any plan to actually take care of these things?
Absolutely.
So why don't we have it? It is the fourth government.
To start with, I think such dharnas or whatever you call it, sit-ins or dharna should not be allowed in the capital.
Okay.
Whether it is the, whatever the reason, whatever the political motives or whatever the causes are, I think if you allow them to come to Islamabad, then it's very, very difficult to dislodge them. I think Prime Minister or the Cabinet should come up with a very categoric statement that they must tell Maulana, you have every right to protest, but no right to disrupt the public life.
All right.
It should be decided once for all, Farooq. It's not only, should not be only directed at this particular political leader, but for the times to come. All political leaders must sit together. There are civilized ways to protest and demonstrate. You can make your point, but this is not the way.
Do we have
if you mentioned some of the videos, the Danda Bardar forces are being prepared and something like that, I think Maulana does not have any logical, rational reason to come to Islamabad. As been mentioned, he has not been able to respond to a series of questions. Why is coming to Islamabad? The only reason is that 1 year government's performance, I think in every democracy, governments perform to the best of their capability and capacity, but we really can't judge a government on the basis of 1 year's performance.
Right.
And then you come marching into the capital and you say that we want to dislodge the government. I
Right.
think it should not be allowed.
It should not be allowed, but what if somebody breaks the law? Now, regarding preparedness, one question, very quick question. Do we have any water cannons in Islamabad? Like they used to have in Karachi?
I think they ought to have.
They
Because
don't.
if they,
They
if they
don't.
don't have, that means they
Yeah.
don't have, they
That
don't have the
actually
strategy.
shows you what exactly
So
is
that-
going
then
on.
That means they don't have the strategy to deal
Right.
with it.
Four governments, many local governments, and nobody has actually planned ahead that if somebody comes and is unruly, how to control them. So, do we have any kind of plans at all in this country?
Well, you know,
Regarding mobs.
we have a successful case where, you know, the PMLN government was able to stop the second march, the Parvez Khatak march from KP around the time of, you know, the Panama case when, you know, the PTI was trying to have a second dharna. And they were successful despite the fact that at that time the KP police was obviously not trying to stop the dharna from KP because, you know, there was a
Right.
PTI government there. Now the situation that you will have is that, you know, both the KP governments and, you know, the police from here would both try to, you know, stop the dharna.
So whosoever comes in, if you can stop them at the gates.
I think they,
If they come and
far,
sit,
far away, I don't think they were even able to come out of
yeah,
KP.
if you arrive in Islamabad and
Much
lodge
before
a sit
that,
in,
much before
no, if you start it, then you cannot dislodge it.
Once they enter Islamabad, then it will become more difficult. And the reason we are suggesting is, you know, because of the stated aims that, you know, the Maulana has expressed, which is to bring down the government and completely lock down. If he was just talking about a normal jalsa, a procession, we would have supported him and said that, you know, it is his right if he promises to come and, you know, do it one day and then leave. But he has stated it repeatedly without any hesitation that this is his goal. You know, like with the PTI dharna and the Faizabad dharna, at least the stated goals were much less ambitious.
Okay.
You know, it was about,
They
you
are
know, we'll
finite.
stay here for a few days and then we leave. And on that promise, they were allowed to come in.
Right.
But here he is openly saying it. So I think they have every right
And
to try to
when
stop
he
it.
says it privately, that they are going to come here for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days.
Well, I think they should
You
just
don't-
ignore
you
that.
don't bite that.
You look at what he's saying publicly, because, you know, he's playing a double game. So, you know, you can't take the risk, especially given what has happened, that people who came with just one stated goal, even they broke their promises. Then how can you take a person seriously who's saying one thing on the media and then another thing privately? So I think definitely try to stop it
Right.
beyond that. But first thing again is, you know, political, you still have about, what, 10 days? You know, set up a high-powered committee.
Not
include
the
people-
Minister for Religious
Yeah,
Affairs.
Parvez Khatak, Asad Qaiser, maybe some of the other clerics, neutral clerics, and try to talk to him. It may not succeed.
You
most
keep on mentioning Parvez Khatak Sahab, the defense minister. We haven't often seen him.
He's
since the
played a
government-
role. He's played a role
No,
in some
he
cases.
might have, he must
Yeah.
have, but he is not very visible.
These
in the
days, he's
public
not very
sphere.
visible,
Yeah.
and he's not even involved in this Kashmir or this international diplomacy, which Shah Mahmood Qureshi would be suitable, but then he has his foreign affairs to take care
Yeah,
of.
but Shah Mahmood Qureshi
So-
might be able to actually.
So, you know,
Carry on.
Parvez Khatak is also a shrewd man,
Yeah, he is very
more
good.
cool-headed. So I think it would, the first thing should be political and then administrative, keep it out of Islamabad.
RF Chaudhary Sahab, how to resolve this issue, how to stop him.
You know, I have a question, you know, like Aristotelian logic, a counter question, like, you know, suppose we don't give, you know, these people terrorist, name of terrorist, and they are Pakistanis, Maulana Fazlur Rahman is patriot, but suppose in another scenario, same situation is created by those who are terrorists, and they come and they take over the capital and they sit over here with, you know, dandas, lathis, and
I thought suicide
all
vests.
all types of jackets and suicide mission. So then, where is the rate of the government? Where do you stand? How can you protect the country? What is the country? And what is the sovereignty? The sovereignty, I don't give them the name of terrorists. That is one point. And I would like to agree with Mr. Jadoon that instead of giving such statements like, don't come, there is dengue, dengue will bite you, don't come, and, we will not, you are after halwa, please take it seriously.
Okay.
And there should be a statement, and not only one statement, there should be, a strategy.
plan.
Yes,
plan.
and they should say that, look, we are facing Kashmir issue, we are facing India right now, and Kashmir is under siege, and that at this particular point, if our attention is diverted, then it means that, India will be successful, Modi will succeed in his goals, he will take over, and as he has already taken over the Kashmir.
Right.
So, there
So,
should
do you support the idea floated by Dr. Saab that there should be a high-powered delegation, not a single man, who should go and negotiate with Maulana? Maulana at least has shown his willingness to negotiate.
First of all, they should have an agenda to talk to Maulana.
Okay.
And they should tell people. They
And
should
then Maulana should have an agenda.
No,
as
no,
well.
no. Maulana doesn't have any agenda because Maulana has only danda. And Maulana, what Maulana wants, they cannot offer him. So instead of going to Maulana,
What does
they
he
should,
want?
the Prime Minister come on television, national television, and he should address the nation, should take the nation into confidence that, look, this is the situation what we are facing right now, and we cannot afford to have any internal disturbance and an internal threat at this point in time, and this kind of thing, after 1 year, these demands cannot be met like that.
Been
So-
there, done that, and that is a problem. In the past also, prime ministers have actually addressed the nation.
Because
They
as
have
far as,
also-
no, as far as I am concerned, I really don't, agree with this proposal because as Maulana is concerned, there is nothing that convinces him except power, which you cannot offer him.
Yeah.
Only if, yeah.
Actually, the great thing about Maulana is that when you talk to him, he might ask for the moon, but he settles for very little as well.
But
and
for
the
that
problem is,
settlement, you shouldn't
just
have...
to avoid very little, you may not
should
end up
not have
losing something
a
big.
public meeting with him. For that, you have to sit, in private.
Okay,
You
right.
and those kind of people who really can call shots.
Ergo, a negotiation.
Negotiations, and they should talk to Maulana.
Javed Jadoon Sahab, talking to Maulana.
I think there is no harm in engaging Maulana because in any democratic political society, negotiations are the essential instrument.
Yeah, but we are talking about
Whether
modalities now.
Maulana is going to agree with that or not, but at least the people of Pakistan would like to see the government engaging Maulana, not only engaging, but telling Maulana that in the current situation, as rightly pointed out, it would be not advisable to come to Islamabad and paralyze the capital. Farooq, we have seen today's World Bank report as well that any future growth rate is going to depend on political stability and security and the international oil prices. So I think it is a pivot. Political stability is a pivot to economic development. If you let smaller political forces, disruptive political forces, to take the people hostage and take the capital hostage, you really can't expect the kind of growth you would like to have in Pakistan. So I think apart from that, the prevailing situation in occupied Kashmir as well, it requires. And thirdly, Farooq, I see the other two political parties getting more closer to the objectives of Maulana as well. We have seen the PMLN, the gatherings day after day, they are discussing, and very unequivocally, Mr. Nawaz Sharif has stated that we would like to be part of the protest and march as well.
Yeah, but it seems
minus
that,
one thing. I think
PMLN first will have to, stage a sit-in against Shehbaz Sharif Sahib himself. It seems because there is a lot of division in the party.
there's a division in the party, but I think if you look at the past, it would be very clear that Nawaz Sharif does prevail at the end of the day. And Shahbaz Sharif, I think he will
Nawaz
be
Sharif or Maryam
willingly or unwillingly, he would be, if it is decided to be part of the protest demonstration, I think Shahbaz Sharif will become part of it. And
Yeah, but willy-nilly, right?
Exactly.
He won't be that much playing that central role.
Exactly. And the second point which the team can tell Maulana that you can come to Islamabad, we will designate a place for you. You can stay there, you can protest or whatever you want to do, but you will not be allowed to come to the D Chowk. If you come to the D Chowk, you paralyze the government.
But
We have
here's
seen
the
in the past
problem.
as well.
In the past, we have seen two versions of sit-ins by TLP, right? First, they came to a secluded place, they sat there, nobody took notice. Then they went back. And then they came back and then they staged their sit-in right in the middle of Faizabad.
Faizabad.
At that moment, everybody got worried, right? So even if you convince people, I don't think he is going to take
Okay.
this bait.
I think the fourth option is they must tell Maulana that you are not allowed to come to the capital and make hostage the whole population and the government as well. And it should be very categorical. And government must be seen to be walking the talk as well.
There is another modality now used in the West. Wherever you have neo-Nazis or fascists or anybody actually protesting, you have counter-protesters also. Should PTI call its own minions?
I have seen reports that he is preparing his stormtroopers. His objectives are not really peaceful. I don't see his objectives to be.
I mean, you're using a Nazi term.
Exactly. I have seen the visuals. I have seen the kind of uniform.
It's green.
Orange or something like that.
Was it
and
saffron?
a lot of people sitting there with dandas. And I think it seems he is preparing stormtroopers, and he is basically trying to deal with the law enforcement agencies as well. And but I think government, it is not too late. Even now, government can sit and decide about the whole situation and come up with a very, very categorical statement. What exactly do they want?
The government
Would they allow him or not?
The government shouldn't stay in denial.
Yes, absolutely.
Or think that Maulana can be shamed into abandoning his plans, right?
Yes.
Sir, there are two possibilities. One argument that was given by Arif Chaudhry Sahab, he was saying that God forbid, if terrorists were to march on Islamabad, how would we have stopped them? Another argument is that in democracies, people are allowed to protest. One example that used to disrupt life is capture the Wall Street. That went big and continued a similar kind of protest, and then yellow vests also. So you perhaps cannot stop them. Another argument is, third argument, that you might be able to stop them if you have counter-protesters. Perhaps PTI supporters come out and they stand in their way so they can stop them.
Yeah, I wouldn't risk that, because there's always this chance of, fighting taking place, lives getting, people getting killed, and, putting ordinary people in the way of harm. I wouldn't do that.
Ordinary people confronted by ordinary people.
Yeah, I wouldn't do
The
that.
problem is...
Because, what the Maulana is bringing are not ordinary people.
Okay.
Those are Danda Bardar, well-trained, rough and tough people. The PTI doesn't have those kind of people in its ranks, right? Its supporters are very, very different. So I would be dead against that option. You have to deal with it with your regular, police and so on. But, that's why it makes it even more important to try to have negotiations in the beginning, because they are most likely going to fail, but still it will give the government the moral authority that, look, we tried our best. We offered him, political negotiations, and he rebuffed all of them, and now we are left with no option but to take administrative action. And the best thing would be to
And what is the administrative action?
The same model, some variation of it, the way the PMLN government was able to deal with the
PMLN government had one big problem. It didn't have the kind of moral courage. I mean, the
But it was
marchers,
still-
when they were leaving Lahore, they couldn't
Not
incarcerate
Lahore.
anybody.
No, I'm talking about the
Right?
Parvez Khatak march from KP, which was stopped near the
even there, they couldn't arrest the key person. If you remember,
But they did not come to Islamabad.
It used
right?
to
Those
happen
people did
during
not-
Qazi Hussain Ahmad when he used to march on Islamabad. Was apprehended, picked up, and then
So you know,
kept in
yes, there are
custody.
different models available, but I think it would be best to keep them out of Islamabad, just given the risk and you know all the things that are happening, Kashmir,
Farooq, state
the
have
regional
phenomenal
dynamics,
resources.
and
They
so
can
on.
Yeah.
deploy those resources and they
Like
can
what?
get the job done.
But you'll have to mention those resources.
For example, the law enforcement agencies, don't let them reach Islamabad.
they have to
you
have
can
some
stop them,
weapon,
as
right?
Murtaza Saab said, that you can stop them right from the point they are going to start marching towards Islamabad.
What are the non-lethal weapons or means that can be employed to actually stop such marches by the administration?
I think that
Law
is the,
enforcement.
that is the point the law enforcers should be pondering about.
And we have been pondering about it for
I
decades.
think it
They-
was
they arrest-
blockages.
They
It
can
was
arrest
blockages.
people, you know.
No, but that
from-
happened. You know, this is the biggest problem.
This M1, it was blocked.
When they
and
have
were not able to come.
the containers, the containers don't stop them; they stop us. But regardless, sir, I'm told that we have to take a small break. It is a news break. I think a good breaking news. Let us take the break, and then we are going to come back and resume from where we left. Take a break.